So,
Hi, everyone.
hey
Welcome.
everybody.
This is kind of a really exciting day for us.
This is a huge day for us because we have the founders of Supply 88, Mark and Dawn Purney.
Mark and
You
Dawn.
probably, it's funny because as people were popping up on the screen, Dawn was just saying, oh, I kind of know some of these names. So you've already ordered some stuff.
Yeah, so some of you have, or maybe I've seen you on the forums too. So
Dawn, when we order, are you the person who does all that for us?
yeah, I am.
Dawn! Oh, that's so exciting. Oh, it's so great to have everyone here. I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to let you guys just take the floor. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So Mark and Dawn kind of like laid out everything for us here on this amazing table. And we're going to be going through each of the items kind of one by one, talking a little bit about them. But I think it would be good at first to just kind of do a little bit of a brief backstory about you and how Supply 88 came to fruition and maybe some of your technician skills. Because Mark actually is a phenomenal technician, was first and foremost that. Actually, first and foremost, you were an engineer.
Yeah.
So maybe give a little bit of backstory on that.
Yeah. So, well, I'm really old, so I graduated from Cleveland State for electrical engineering back in '92, and then I spent about 20 years working in that field, designing electronics, doing firmware, and just developing products that were electronic products and software-based stuff. And I got burned out on that, and I decided, well, I knew early on I didn't want to work for other people, but it just took me a while to get to where I could be my own boss. And piano technology sort of provided a way to make a transition out of working a job and having my own business.
How old were you when you made that step? Because you had a very well-established career within the engineering world.
Yeah, it probably would have been
late 30s.
Late 30s. Yeah. And yeah, I started tuning pianos in 2007. And Jim Coleman Sr. was the guy who taught me how to tune. And
Jim Coleman Sr., these are like royalty when it comes to the piano servicing world. These are the big names. And as I've moved here to Phoenix, I didn't realize that all the big names are here. You know, you have Renner, you have a little company called Ravenscroft, which builds some of the highest end pianos that really the world produces, you know, anybody can produce. And Mark, at all these places, when I talk to these technicians, a lot of the common thing is, well, we'll have to have Mark do this, or we're going to have Mark do this or this. So he's intertwined in a very intricate way with all of these very high end, not only manufacturers, but this whole history around piano servicing. And I appreciate that. And I see you in that. And that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Yeah, we're busy.
You're busy.
Yeah, we do a lot of things. But yeah, so it's been interesting kind of getting out of electronics for a while and doing more mechanical design and a lot of CAD and 3D printing and metalwork, woodwork. You know, we have a shop that has just piles of equipment out there. And so we're always running around just making things and designing things. And then I have to tune pianos between all that. So it's crazy.
I would say that the thing that I've noticed that sets Supply 88 apart from the other manufacturers of tools and supplies is really, it feels like with everything you produce, you're saying, I get that it's done this way and it's always been done this way, but why? Why is it done this way and could it be better? And that's with all of the tools that you produce. It's like, yeah, I guess I never thought of it that way. Whether it's the tire irons and the or tire wheels and the stringing, or the I can't even. We're creating a gauge, so we've worked on a gauge together. Tuning hammers, action brackets. We're gonna start showing off everything. I guess that's what we should do. But does anybody have any questions for Mark or Dawn at this time? Has everybody set up their Supply 88 account? If you haven't,
you don't need one.
You don't even need one.
Just go to Supply 88.
Just go to Supply 88. Start buying stuff.
Don will take care of you. Sorry, I was like, Don will take care of you.
And if anybody has questions as they as they come. You know, just the I love my new tuning hammer from them. So Bruce brought a tuning hammer from you. I think Robert, you brought a tuning hammer too, right?
Yeah, we just shipped one to Robert.
Yes.
What did Robert get? So maybe this is a good
I
one.
got
This is a
the
good
Kestrel, and now I've ordered a 30mm tip for that and an adjuster.
Did you get that yet?
Not yet, but I ordered that afterwards because I wanted to ask the group, and then I ordered that. But I am trying to find some cleaning supplies and the dusting supplies.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's out of stock. So that's kind of my one question is when can I get some of that?
Yeah.
Corey?
So
The Corey, yeah.
oh, you're talking about Corey.
I need to order more,
Yeah,
I guess.
Well, there's some dusting tools and there's Corey. A lot of the Corey products are out of stock.
Yeah, the soundboard dusting tools, at least for the last couple of years, have been sort of on and off as far as us being able to keep them in stock. Because every time I make a run of them, it seems like they're gone in a week. And I'm like, I just made a bunch and I don't have time to make more. But
just so that everybody can see what Robert's talking about and Mark are talking about. It's an all contained kit.
And we are going to make more. It's just one of those things that we're always going to be in and out as far as being in stock, but it's something that we want to have more as soon as possible. It comes in the full set comes in a bag, and this is just a standard duster, right? We don't make this, but we discovered that it makes really fast work of the bass section of the soundboard because that's all open and and you can get under the strings.
Yeah.
So you can like sometimes get half the soundboard just
from one swoop.
And then you have a vacuum, obviously, and you just vacuum the dust and keep.
I was gonna ask, do you ever like wash this, put this in like the?
You can.
You can you can take this part off.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah, and this can be washed.
Okay, perfect.
It's microfibers. You have to wash it separately. We give instructions.
Okay, perfect. So you do give instructions.
So yeah, but if you know how to, wash your microfiber, that's the only trick.
Pretend that somebody here doesn't know how to micro.
So you can't wash it with other fabrics.
Oh.
And then I think it's probably a cold water wash.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so isolate it and just do it by itself, cold water.
Yeah.
And now I know.
And then the other, this is what takes us the most time to do.
Yeah.
Is this tool right here.
Yep.
So this is welded steel. It's I don't know if you can see that. I'm flexing it. I can't really tell.
I think the great thing about the ones that you guys produce is that it's flexible in that way.
Yeah, so you can kind of get under there and work more area where you insert it between the strings and the plate strut or whatever. But the fact that it bends a little bit lets you cover a little more area, and you just pull it out and vacuum it, and it works a lot like the original spur locks.
Would you ever produce a smaller one just to kind of, that's not as big or cumbersome, or is that what this is kind of meant for?
Well, that's kind of where this comes in. Okay. And since these are this is really hard to make because I have to clean up the joints for welding, do the welding. Then
you do this all in house?
Yes. Yeah. Grind down the welds. This is a plastic shrink coating that goes on there. And then you have to trim the felt. You have to glue the felt on, trim it. Then we have to make the handles and attach the handles and sand and finish. And it's like, there's a lot to it.
There's a little bit to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not something that I can just go online and have companies quote, hey, can you build this for me?
Yeah.
Because
yeah,
I'd spend more time trying to explain how to make it than actually
just doing it. Okay.
And then this is the latest version of our treble dusting tool. We wanted something that was a little more durable.
Yeah.
And so this is cotton flex braiding. This is what is used for like wire runs.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's just a cotton braided tubing that goes over a piece of steel. And this is flexible as well, but this gets in lots of areas where
the others just can't. No, that's true. This is the kit that I use. and I take with me on my service call. So I love this kit, and it wasn't available for a little while, and kind of like you said, it kind of makes runs and it's in and out sometimes.
Yeah, we know we need to make more. We have a waiting list, and we're going to get to it as soon as we can. So
talk to me about the tuning levers, because tuning hammers are its own science. It's its own thing, and there's a lot of major opinions on tuning levers. What made you decide on not only the design, the materials, and the idea behind what you've created? And just so that everybody knows, maybe you can explain, there's two basic designs. There's the ball and then the string.
Well, okay, so I don't actually have, all right. Well, originally we made our handles out of ABS plastic. We don't do that anymore. The handles, the basic model now has nylon. This is black nylon, and this is our tapered cylinder handle. So it's more like a traditional tuning lever.
Yeah, and are you saying that these today are made of wood?
We can make them out of wood.
You can. Okay.
But yeah, this particular one is nylon. It's a textured nylon handle.
What size is this one?
That's a 30 millimeter tip.
Okay, so this is the size that Robert's going to be getting, the 30 millimeter right here. Got it. And what is the benefit to having a 30 millimeter as opposed to, don't you sell a 40?
We sell 20, 30, and 40.
40, okay.
40 is more universal because it will give you the most clearance.
Okay. For the plate.
Most of the time I just use my 40. For plate struts, and then uprights where you have that metal, the cast iron overhang above the pins, you need a longer tip sometimes.
For those technicians that are just starting out, would you recommend having a 30 because it's a closer kind of connection and lower profile to the pin itself?
We generally recommend a 40 because then you won't have the clearance problems.
Okay. Sometimes
with a 30, you'll run into a little bit of a clearance, then you got to turn it sideways.
Okay, got it.
But I mean, I carry 3 levers with 3 different size tips because I can. Mm-hmm. I always use the shortest one that I can get away with, but I know that's not realistic. So if you're only going to have one, I'd say go with a 40. It's just when you have a smaller tip, that makes the overall weight less.
Yeah,
and it gets you down closer to the level of the tuning pins. Yeah, which gives you more control. So
and just so, because I'm holding these right now, it feels like all the weight is really down here. Majority of all the weight, which is great because my brother's a big advocate for this hammer. Adam, who's one of the instructors at the Piano Technician Academy, he's a big advocate for it because you could feel every little nuance, every little movement in the pin. And honestly, Mark, what is the price point on these? Because it's very affordable.
Yeah, I think we are at so $299, and I'll just show you. So for the nylon handled ones, we have this. I don't have one with me right now, but the other shape is this offset ball. So it's like a ball handle, but it drops a little bit. Yeah. Which gets your right hand down a little bit closer. So it's a 15-degree head, but basically with that offset ball, your grip position it's almost like you're using a 12.5 or 12-degree head. And the head angle. So this is something I always rant about, but people make
Let's hear it, Mark rant.
People make a big deal out of head angle, and they will argue with me until they're blue in the face that 5 degrees or 7 degrees or 10 degrees is better than 15. And the thing is, if you're using a lever with a 5-degree head, chances are for the majority of pianos, you're having to use a tip extension or a longer tip.
That's what I have to do. Yeah.
Just to get the clearance. Now, if you're doing that, so what's happening is, see, your lever's angled like this, and in order to clear things, the plate struts, you have to use a longer tip, which gets your right hand at the same elevation as if you would just use a 15-degree head.
Yeah, we can kind of show you this. This is exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, yeah, ideally, if you didn't have any clearance issues, you would want, like what the tuning pins are around 7 degrees, they're drilled at. You would probably want like a 7-degree. 5 is too short because it actually goes backwards.
Exactly. I think this is, I thought this was a 7-degree.
And 7 would be ideal if you don't have any clearance problems. But it's just in the real world, it's not realistic. So if you look at the physics of it, where you're applying your force, it has everything to do with where your right hand is applying the force to the lever with respect to the tuning pin, and not just the pin, but the part of the pin that's being gripped by the block. Because you're always, with the traditional lever, you're always going to have a little bit of flagpole force because you're trying to turn, you're trying to do a torque, right?
Yeah.
But you're pushing this way. And since this is elevated a little bit, there's always going to be
There's
some
always a
leaning
loss
force.
of, yeah.
There's always a flagpole force component, no matter what you do, unless you're using a levit hand C. That lever, he cleverly gets around the flagpole forces, which is great. I've never used one, but I can see why he did it that way, and it's very cool because you can use that lever and not have any flagpole.
The left-hand seat lever is one that kind of curls up over the front of the stretcher, and you kind of tune it right. You're basically perpendicular to the. Would that be right?
Yeah, you can apply force with your basically at the level of the tuning pin.
Yes.
So there's no flagpole.
There's no flagpole in there.
But yeah, with the traditional lever, you're always going to have that. So my philosophy is go with the little higher angle because of the clearance issue, and your right hand's going to be in the same place no matter what. So it doesn't really matter. If you look at the forces, it could be the shape of a pretzel.
Yeah.
You know, this could be going up here and back down, and if it was infinitely stiff, it wouldn't matter at all.
So $300-ish plus the tuning
Plus
tip.
the tip.
What's the tip?
The tips are $49, I think. They've
Oh,
gone
very
up.
affordable.
Yeah, I mean, to me that seems expensive.
So you're into really? Oh,
They're
so you're
pricey.
into one of these hammers, really? You know, kind of on the base level for $350.
Yeah. Now the wood ones are going to be more.
Yep.
And I turn these on a lathe by hand.
Mark
So,
turns them. They're handcrafted by Mark
This is
himself.
one that is made out of maple.
It's gorgeous.
It's it's maple with a dark finish. This happens to be polyurethane. I can do it with tongue oil.
Yeah.
I can do it unstained. I've done stained, unstained, and
I'm a big fan of having the wood handles actually not super coated because I feel like it absorbs my palm moisture better, but that's just me. Maybe I have sweaty palms.
so I've got a bunch of turning blanks. I've just been so busy. I wanted to make a bunch of levers with wood handles, and we just haven't done it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to maybe over the summer or before the PTG convention, have a few wood handles.
One of the things that you said that I was surprised about was you said that one of your most popular items that you sell are actually the action brackets. So I don't know if we can kind of turn to that because this is going to be something that all you are going to at some point in the field experience this.
Young
So
chain
maybe
action
start-
brackets.
Yep, expanding action brackets. So maybe you can explain what that is, what pianos that this is, what pianos this happens in, and your solution for it.
Right. So this was probably about 3 years ago. We had, I guess, the source that people were getting the metal replacement brackets, the sanctioned Yongcheng metal replacements. They were having some trouble getting them, or they weren't in stock, and they were unavailable for quite some time. We had a lot of people asking us if we could do an aftermarket bracket, and I was like, I do not want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like it's just so complicated, so problematic, and then you have to deal with, well, if somebody tries to do an install and they don't really understand all the ins and outs of it, then they can get mad at us if it doesn't work out. It's very complicated.
To give a little bit of more perspective or more of an idea of what we're talking about, this is on a grand piano, and the action itself, or the top stack, is held together by brackets. Those are screwed into the key bit themselves. And those brackets, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the metal that they were used, can break.
It's cast pot metal, and back in the 90s, they used an alloy mixture of metal that, for whatever reason, over time, and it could have been 2 years later. Some of them are just starting to exhibit problems now after all this time. The metal starts to expand. It gets weak, it cracks, and it's not something that Yongcheng could have ever anticipated being an issue. It's just one of those things where it's like you wouldn't expect that to happen. So the problem with that is the original action brackets were never precision made to begin with, because they were just cast pot metal with a powder coating, and it doesn't matter. They don't all have to be the same. They don't have to be machined to tight tolerances, because you're going to regulate the piano with whatever the position of the rails and the hammers and the whippings and everything is. So the thought of having to replace those brackets never was an idea, but since they've had to be replaced, when a technician has to replace those brackets, it doesn't matter where you get them from or whose you use. You're going to have to re-regulate from scratch, because even a 0.5 millimeter difference in dimension one way or the other, in up or down or front to back, is going to cause your regulation to be a disaster.
Yeah.
So I think most people understand that. We've been very pleasantly surprised that people understand that. We don't have, we've had a couple of people, call us with some issues when they're installing them, but for the most part, people are very happy.
We've ordered them before, and I was shocked at how easy it was. So again, I think we replaced a whole set of them. By the way, when I first saw these on your table, like, years ago, I thought they were like little, rubber gun shooters, rubber band shooters when I first saw these. But no, these are what we're talking about. And again, these are all 3D printed to the manufacturer spec. Everything works brilliantly. I think for a set of these, what was it, a couple $100 roughly?
No, a set of 4 is, we were selling for one. What is it?
125.
Let me see.
Just kick another $75 because it's worth it.
a set of 4 is 130.
130. Okay.
And a set of if you happen to have a piano with 5 brackets, which most are not, there are some Young Changs and Webers that have 5 brackets. Those sets are 163.
So they're different sizes depending on, and you'll ask in the website itself. It kind of goes and walks through what you need to be looking for.
Yeah, and this is kind of, in case you're not sure what we're talking about, for anybody who doesn't know, that's these particular brackets aren't finished yet. I don't have the hardware inserts in there, but they're just for show.
Yep.
So.
No, these are a lifesaver. And before you started coming out with these years ago, maybe 10 years ago, we had this issue. We ended up not being able to even figure out a solution. I think we even JB welded them or something. But yeah, when you came out with these, this was a big deal. And that makes sense that these are one of your more popular ones, because there's just no other solution for it.
And we're surprised. I mean, we never thought we'd be having to make so many of them, but we're constantly producing them. We do them in batches because they all have to be, each one of these brackets takes about 6 hours of machine time just to produce. And then each one has to be cleaned up and then machined to a template so that they're all the same exact dimension. Because even though they might not be the same dimension as the original brackets, we want consistent tolerances on everything that we send out so that everything's the same. So that's why they have to be machined. You can't just 3D print something like this and expect it to work.
Can you show me what the Supply 88, there's a handful of things that Mark has here, and I always forget them, but they look really cool. So Janice, I think that you were doing something like this, the other day with the cardboard. Correct me if I'm wrong, but these are action bracket screw holders.
Yep.
And so just a simple thing that's just perfect. So put all the screws in here in the right order, the correct order. And I guess the way you would know it's in the right order is because you have the logo right there.
No, because you have,
of course.
I don't know if you can see, okay, 0, 1 and 8, 8. So you can tell where your orientation is and just put the screws in, because we've always been taught that you have to keep your action bracket screws in the right.
Yeah.
Just like doing like a head gasket or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure
or
the same bolts.
I always thought it was kind of like when you put on a car tire or a car wheel, you have to alternate and put it in and screw it on the right order and everything like that.
Now, most pianos, I don't think it would matter if your screws got mixed up, but it's just good practice.
Somebody's asking resin printed or filament. I don't know what that means.
Definitely resin printing is cool if you're making D&D figurines, but for functional parts, it's no good.
Okay.
We don't do, we a long time ago, we made some things out of PLA. We don't make anything out of PLA anymore. It's not heat resistant enough.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. We learned the hard way that
You learned the hard way.
Live and learn.
Dawn's over here laughing like, oh.
We learned the hard way that in Phoenix or California,
Oh,
in the middle of summer with your windows down
Yep.
in a hot car, something that's made out of PLA plastic, if there's anything pushing against it or any forces applied to it, it's gonna deform.
Interesting.
So we use ABS, we use PETG, which is a polyethylene,
Okay.
and the brackets are made out of PETG. So it's super stable, and it will not, it's very heat resistant. It's not going to melt in a car, and it's dimensionally stable. So,
Yeah.
and it's super strong. Like you take one of those action brackets, I wouldn't recommend it. You could put it in a vise, and you have to really try hard to break it.
So you're saying that I couldn't break it like right there?
Not with your hands, no.
Wow.
Unless you're really strong.
Well, I am.
But you wouldn't want to do that because it'll the part that breaks off will fly across the room.
Dawn's like, gonna hand it to me. No, I don't want to like embarrass myself from all these people.
So those are really strong. You're not going to have any issues with them breaking or anything like that. So yeah, we use a lot of PETG.
This is cool. I was gonna, you need to show me this because I'm pretty sure I remember what it is, but
Before we do that, can you just tell them that's the stack screw organizer?
Yeah, this is
stack screw organizer
This
is
is
what it's actually called.
yeah, I got to give credit. I did not design or invent this. This was Robert Springer's thing that he did. And he was like, yeah, I don't want to make these, but so we basically do a royalty.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we make them, but it's not my design.
Yeah.
We made some design changes, but yeah, that's Robert's thing. It's
Wow.
Robert's
So
thing.
if anybody here has the perfect design for a tool, but they don't want to build it or make it, they should just contact you.
Well, yes and no. I'm not
Mark
looking
knows
for-
how much
I'm not
work
look-
it's been with me trying to develop this measuring gauge. He's like,
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah,
Time's
we
up.
need to talk about that too. So
Maybe you
yeah.
could show me this thing because
Yeah,
this always gets a lot of attention at your booth because people are like, what is this? And they dangle it.
Yeah, this is something that we, the version we've been doing for the last couple of years this is super strong. We improved it. This is, like really sturdy, and it's an upright lid prop. So the way it works is it's a lot like the old Spurlock one, except for you have this adjustment knob, and you have to, with different uprights, you have to be able to change the length of this part. This goes behind the hinge. If this is the top, the felt lined top above the pin block, and then here's your lid, and then your hinge is here. This part goes in that space behind the hinge, and so you can use this to adjust the angle of your upright lid while you're tuning, and then you just tighten it back down, and that's not going anywhere.
I was gonna say it's not going anywhere because I don't have one of these, but I was just like, does that not move? I guess it doesn't move. And it is finger. You can just go ahead and adjust it with your finger right there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
so that's what
where's
this
the
is.
magnet one? Yeah.
It should be.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
And then somebody asked us if we could do like a magnetic screw holder to hold a place to put your screws so they don't roll off the top of the because we've all had screws fall behind the piano or inside the action.
Then you hope for it to fall and you hear a clunk at the very bottom of the pedal board, and when it doesn't happen, it's like, oh dang it.
Yeah, so instead of redesigning the whole thing, we just made this little doodad here.
Oh, that's perfect.
That you can add to an old one or just get it with a new one, but it just goes in here, and you pop it in there, and now you've got a little magnetic thing for your
Okay, so
pre-screws.
See, Mark does this like seamlessly. Now everybody's like, hey, what was that other tool? What was that T-handle tool?
Yeah.
Now you have to explain the T-handle tool.
Right. Okay, so this is, most people know what this is by now, but not everybody. So this is called the stabilizer. We gave it that name. Roger Gable designed this. Okay. And the purpose of it is for tightening the wire bends around. Oh, hi, Seth. Congrats on your musical triumph. Your Easter thing. I saw that on Facebook.
Thanks.
Anyway, so you probably need to go to the website and look at the video to really see how this works and what it does. But this helps tighten the wire bends around the bridge pins, which gives you more stability because, and it also has the nice side effect of cleaning up a lot of false beats.
Really?
Which is mainly what I use it for, even though that's not what it was designed for. The way it works is you have this little hole on the end.
Yep.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, you got it.
It's hard to do. Okay. It goes over the bridge pin, and instead of pushing from the side or pulling like you would with this brass tool, you've probably seen the Davenport thing. We'll talk about that later. But you just put this over the bridge pin and you twist it because it's got this little thing that sticks down, and you put that against the wire and turn it, and it just makes it real easy. You can just go and tighten up all the wire bends all the way across.
And it makes the bend more distinct.
Well, okay, so what happens when you restring or string initially a piano for the first time, the wire kind of curves around the bridge pins. It doesn't just go.
Yeah.
So that gives you a lack of stability. So after you've done some tunings, after the wire settled and you're not still chip tuning it,
sure,
it really helps out to make those wires follow the bridge pin a little more closely, and that actually takes a spring out of the wire because that curvature creates a bit of a spring, and that gives you a lack of stability.
Yeah.
So you'll notice if you've got a piano where you've never seated the strings and you use this tool, you'll see a 10 or 15 cent drop.
Oh my gosh.
Just from using this sometimes.
Wow.
It might be 5, but you'll usually see a big drop. And if you don't see a drop, it means somebody probably went through and seated the strings already.
So a tool like that, what does that go for? And by the way, Stacy, I think put in the chat the video and the portion of the website where that's at. So people can kind of see what it looks like in person.
Perfect. Done.
Yeah, I have a great question. The laptop has a new magnetic holder. If I order one right now, will it come with a magnetic deal, or do you order that separate?
It's separate. We made it separate because not everybody's going to want that.
Okay.
But we've had a few people ask us if we could add a magnet or something to the thing. I'm like, well, I don't want to change the design, but so I figured out a way to make a thing that just pops.
So Victor would just order this and then order the other supplementary piece.
Yeah, the magnet is a separate deal. That's like $5.
Cool. Yeah, everything here, with the Supply to 8, it's not gouging you. It's very reasonable. It's way more reasonable now that I'm after having this conversation, because I didn't know that you were actually fabricating some of the stuff yourself. And I think somebody even said with the soundboard cleaner that they had another one, and sure enough, it wasn't yours, and it gave out over time, but yours, it's built to last. So
yeah, well, they will. I mean, the felt will wear.
No, they said that it broke.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I try my best to make good welds. Yeah, I've had a couple break because the weld wasn't good, but it's only happened like a couple of times in the last 10 years. So. I'm really careful to try and do good welds, and I reject a lot of them if I'm not confident in the weld. But it is a very, very thin metal and welded to a thin wire, so it's not the easiest thing to weld.
I didn't know that you all sold the hypo bottles.
Yeah.
So this is I've been trying to find a good source for that. For whatever reason, I didn't know that you guys sold them.
Answering the questions about the stabilizer.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the stabilizer tool is $20. There's a bass version and a treble version. The treble version, if you're just going to get one, that's the one you want, because that's where most of you're going to see the most change, and that's what I use the most. But the treble one isn't going to fit over the larger diameter bass bridge pins. So if you want to be able to use this tool on the bass bridge pins, then there is a bass tool that has a larger diameter. You probably can't see it, and I can't.
A lot of times what you do is you kind of hold them like that, and then, there you go.
I don't know if you can see, there's a slight difference in diameter from the base to the treble. So it's 20, but these grips, which are made out of a thermoplastic polyurethane, we added, we make and add these grips just to make it a little easier on your hands. If you're doing a whole piano, if you're doing all the pins on a piano, not having this plastic grip starts to dig into your hands a little bit. So It's just an extra $5 if you want
Yeah.
the handle, which some people don't. Most people get it with the handle, the grip, and some people don't.
This would be a really cool offering to give to piano stores, retailers as a tech, saying, hey, I want to tune your pianos. I know that you have brand new pianos. You know, this would be something that I include in all of my servicing as I go through, and I just, you know, use this tool, and it really helps seat everything that much better. A lot of times it's differentiating yourself from the other technicians, and these tools are great ways of doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then you asked about
Yeah.
these are just hypo oilers or needle dispensers, little bottles. You can put your CLP or your you know, whatever. I mean, we have our own lubricant for verdigris, which we can talk about later. But
you do?
Yeah. But yeah, these are real popular.
Well, and the thing I love about them, because I was looking at them in a closer look, and it's right at where the needle connects. And if you buy the ones on Amazon, if you buy those things, they can leak, they can just get jostled around, and this seal gets broken. But these look legit. Like, these are not going to be breaking.
Yeah, and these are surprisingly hard to come by.
Yeah,
we have to buy a lot of them at a time. Yeah.
Wow, that makes sense. So yeah, these would be definitely something for the kits, and maybe you can explain, that you have a verdigris.
So okay, I got to give. We did not come up with this. This was Dale Irwin, somebody Dale knew.
Okay.
Who was into chemicals. They were like, hey, let's try making a new lubricant using some stuff that's not currently used in the piano industry. And it's actually PFPE, which is perfluoropolyether.
Mm-hmm.
It's used in super high-tech applications, like most hard drives are now solid state, but back when they had the spinning platters, this is the lubricant that's used for those hard drives that spin at like many thousands RPM.
Oh,
like
wow.
10,000 RPM. You need a really good lubricant for those spindles, and it's used in air conditioning compressors and all sorts of high-end applications where you need something that's it's a synthetic lubricant that doesn't break down easily, and it's also it's pretty environmentally friendly compared to a lot of stuff.
So what does this do that ProTech doesn't?
Okay, so for whatever reason, and I don't know, I'm not a chemical engineer.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, this stuff seems to work as well or better than anything else for verdigris contaminated center pins.
Yeah.
So I've personally tested it on some verdigris pins where I used the typical stuff, and I still use the standard center pin lubricants because it's relatively inexpensive by comparison. And if you just have let's say a Samick that's got really tight centers, you might not see a difference if using ours versus a less expensive lubricant. But if you've got a verdigris center pin, chances are you're going to see a dramatic difference between this stuff and the typical stuff that you would carry around. And anyway, so Dale Irwin's friend kind of came up with this mixture of this Fomblin. It's called Fomblin. That's just a brand name. There's Krytox, but basically it's PFPE is the lubricant, and it's we suspect that it's the combination of that lubricant with the substance that is mixed with it that it kills the verdigris and just allows the new lubricant to get in there. It seems like it's has a long lasting effect. I've got some hammers that are now 5 years almost.
Oh, wow.
And they're still just as freed up as they were 5 years ago.
I guess the core of my question is, can we just use this in our kits? Can we use this as a supplement to ProTech? So we can go to Supply 88, buy this, and it's great. It'll work on the normal applications and verdigris.
With some disclaimers. One, that I wouldn't recommend it because it's too expensive. This stuff's really pricey.
Okay. What are we talking pricey? Gone?
$45 for 4 ounce bottle.
This is 4 ounce?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's by weight. That's not fluid ounces. That's 4 ounces by weight. The density of the lubricant's a lot heavier than water. So, but I wouldn't use that exclusively for center pins because it's too expensive.
Okay.
It really makes a difference on verdigris, but on some center pins, you're not going to see a difference.
Got it.
So I wouldn't waste the good stuff on that. It's kind of like fine wine. You're not going to, you might bring out the good stuff.
Doesn't go on to spin it.
But yeah, I mean, you can use it. But the other disclaimer is this stuff will creep, according to NASA.
What?
Some lubricants will creep, and some people use center pin lubricants in places where some people would disagree is a good idea, like on strings and bearing points. So you would not want to apply this stuff to bridge caps or bridge pins or V-bars.
Got it.
Because the Vertigon will creep, and we do have that disclaimer on our website. So, if you're hosing down your understring felt with CLP on a regular basis, don't do it with this.
Got it. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, I didn't know that you guys had that.
Yeah. We have some stuff that we have nothing to do with designing or making. This is a tool that I keep in my kit that is being updated currently by Mike McCluskey. He's the one who makes it. He's into racing. He makes racing car parts and stuff like that in California. But he makes this tool, which is, you'd have to to see how it works, you'd have to look at the video on our website, but it's basically for doing the hitch pin loops for the single.
Oh, single hitch pin loops? Yeah.
And it's just really cool how it works. And
it's got a color coded to
the new ones.
The new ones.
So what is this actually called, so we can put it on the chat?
It's called the hitch pin loop maker.
Okay. And is there a video of it being done on the video? Okay, perfect.
There's a video, I believe, demonstrating how you use it.
This would be something that they should be able to take into the RPT exams as well. So, because you have to do that within the exam. It's pretty light.
Yeah. Do you? I don't remember. Do you have to do the single loop? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people just use a little block of wood with a screw in it and a hole
This is
drilled
pretty cool.
The nice thing about this is, I found that when I had a Busendorfer with a broken wire I had to replace, and every single one of those hitch pins was perfect. Identical.
Yeah, like fairies make them, just magical.
Yeah, and I'm really nervous. I want my replacement wire to look just like the others. I don't want you to be able to see that it's different. And this thing allowed me to make a loop that looked just like the other one, so I was very pleased. But fortunately, I haven't had to use it that much because I hate doing that.
Can you show? Because this is a big item. I didn't know until today that you made these, but sometimes you have to go ahead and remove keys in the customer's house where, usually with an upright, and you're going to take them back and you're going to, replace key bushings, or you're going to do that on a grand piano. You're going to take them out of the key bed
or you have it in the shop and you just want to do all your bushings together and keep your keys together.
So you actually, do you manufacture these? Do you sell these? Or?
So these are the original, this is a set that I bought used off of somebody who retired.
Yeah.
12 years ago. But this is the original spur lock key clamp.
Those are what I originally used to have.
And this is the original deal, right? I don't currently have any of these made. But what happened is when Irwin took over a lot of spur lock stuff, they took over that product, but they were making them out of spruce.
Yeah, they were making them out of wood.
And they didn't want to keep making them.
Okay.
So they kind of sent me some of the materials. I bought some of the materials, like the hardware.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I really like the original spur lock aluminum ones.
Yes.
So I have made a few sets. So I got the materials to make probably 20 more sets, and I don't know if I'm going to continue making them after we run out.
Are they for sale, or are they being pre-sold?
I'm hoping to make some more sets within the next week or so. Okay. It's just, these are incredibly hard to make. Yeah. Very time consuming. And honestly, if I had known how hard these were going to be to do, I probably would have just said, nah.
What is the price point on those going to be? You had to guess.
How much? 160. Are they 160? I thought they were more than that.
Oh, 180?
I don't recall, but
around 200 or less.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So those would be well worth it. So again, stay on the Supply 88 when those come and hit the shelf, because those are going to be gone fast.
And we have a waiting list of people that want these. So, but yeah, the nice thing is part of the issue is I have to bend one of these. There's a bit of a curvature, and And
So that when
one
it's
of the
clamped, it
pieces,
really
because when you
puts-
clamp it,
Mm.
if these were both straight, what would happen is the keys on the end would have more clamping force
Yeah.
than the ones in the middle,
Yeah.
and the ones in the middle aren't going to be held in
I
place.
didn't know that it was purposeful.
Yeah, those are really challenging, but anyway, that's just one of the things that Irwin took over from Spurlock
Yeah.
and handed it over to us. And there's another product like that.
What's that?
Which this is
Yes, I need somebody to explain this to me. I've only seen it, but it's one of those things that I haven't like looked into.
Yeah, so this is a beat up old one that one of the first ones I made, and the labels all coming loose and stuff. But this is Spurlock used to make these out of wood with lead weights.
Yep, I remember that.
And that was another product that Irwin took over from Spurlock, and they were making them for a while, and they realized that these are a real pain to make out of wood. You got to drill, you got to put the lead weights in there, you got to make sure they're made just right. And so what this does is it's a quick way to just get sorry about the label being waved like that.
It's old.
Yeah,
it's old.
It's a quick way to find out your action ratio. If you're evaluating an action, trying to figure out, why is this action bad?
Why does it play funny?
Why does it play funny? Yeah.
Why does it play funny? And how, besides hitting the hand, how does it do that? Do you set this on the keys?
So what you do is
wave
you
it at
set this on. I have a picture which will be more.
Yes.
Since we're not at a piano, the picture will actually be more useful to see. Here we go. So you set it on the front of the keys, and it's heavy. It's filled with sand, so it will depress. It'll depress one of the natural keys by 6 millimeters.
Okay.
And what you then do is you take your little metal ruler and you measure how high did the hammer come up on the other end, on the other side of the lever system.
So talking about an upright, talking about a
grand piano.
Okay, so it can't be done on an upright?
I don't know.
Just nobody's willing to look at it.
You know what? I've never.
That's okay.
I don't know that people actually evaluate the action ratios on upright pianos that much. But
so you put it on your grand, and it presses the key down.
So let's say the
base of the hammer.
The key. Well, we know the key goes down 6 millimeters.
Okay.
When you put it on there, then there's a chart on this label, and let's say you measure it and you're at 35.5 millimeters. Like if you're going to measure it that accurately, let's just say you measure it to be 35 millimeters, right? The amount that the hammer rises.
So the way you would measure that is on the neighboring hammer. Say, okay, it's this much higher than the neighboring hammer.
Right. So let's say it goes up 35 millimeters. You go to this chart, and that tells you that your action ratio is roughly 5.83. Now, this is just going to give you a ballpark idea, because some actions have really bizarre ratios, and seasoned rebuilders will have their sweet spot. Like they want a certain action ratio that they go for, whether it be 5.2 or whatever it is. And
so just so that people know, once you have that magic number, you will then decide to go into a process of adjusting.
You could adjust your capstans.
You can adjust your capstans. You can adjust your knuckle and whip jack alignment and things of that nature where it hits on the knuckles. It's definitely the next level.
Yeah.
Of servicing.
Yeah. So
you're actually replacing parts.
Yeah. If you're looking at say you got an old Steinway that doesn't play right or something, it's just one tool that you can use to sort of get an idea of why does. It might be that it just has too much lead in it. That you weigh it off and the downweight and upright are within spec, but it plays like a truck. It might just be there's too much inertia. Yeah. But it could also be that the action ratio is something that you could play with as a rebuilder. You might want to move your capstans if you're going to install those really nice anodized WNG capstans, which I love. You might want to just plug the holes and relocate them. You don't like them? Okay.
I'm a purist. I don't know.
I don't like polishing brass. So, but anyway, they're lightweight. They take some mass out, and you never have to polish them.
Really?
Which means once you.
Oh wait! We're only talking about the capstans.
I'm talking about capstans.
You're not talking about the whole thing.
No,
you're not. Are you?
I've got WNG capstans. I've got WNG capstans in my Schimmel because I don't want my friction changing.
Okay.
So that's something that over time you might get a little bit of friction building up on your brass capstans. And with the W&G ones,
He's right about that.
You never have to polish them. So that's one variable that's not going to change.
You being a man that gets his hands dirty with 3D printing and all that stuff, what are your thoughts about the W&G action?
I like W&G stuff. I've installed their parts. I think Bruce is a genius. I've taken the class, the week-long training at at W&G, and I really like what they're doing, and I think the parts, if you know what you're doing when you're installing them, there's a lot of consistency there that you can't get out of wood.
You just can't get.
Yeah.
So we're talking about it's not carbon fiber.
There is the hammer shanks are carbon fiber tubes.
Okay.
The other parts are glass-filled nylon.
Okay.
For the most part, and yeah, so a lot of people think the whole thing's carbon fiber. It's not.
It's not. So yeah, there's a big debate within the industry. Actually, I think they're winning over more and more technicians. Whether they're winning over customers, I'm not sure, but certainly technicians.
I've played a lot of pianos that have the W&G parts, and they're great. I mean, you get you just get consistency with the flex. The flexing of the hammer shank doesn't change. If you look at a hammer, we're getting out from the weeds here, but if you look at a hammer, the way it moves on a high-speed camera after it hits a string, it's
just going crazy.
It's all over the place. And the carbon fiber shanks, you'll get less of that variance, which means your dynamics are a little more consistent, because when you're repeating a note, that hammer, your strike point moves a little bit based on where the hammer is vibrating back and forth when it hits the string the second time. So I'm sure you've been playing, and it's like, how come that note sounded weird when I hit it the second time, and then you hit it a third time and it sounds different? It's probably because the way. Well, anyway, we're getting.
I'm more of a purist when it comes to the wood stuff, and that's totally fine. We can still work together, and we have worked together on just about the most amazing tool ever created. Yes. Oh, what's this?
It looks like something. It looks like a magazine.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it does kind of. Oh my goodness. That's it.
You can explain what it is.
What doesn't it do? This will do everything except for take you out to dinner. This is just perfect. So here we have, I think it's 7 or 9 different measurements, including 7?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 9. I can't even remember all of them. So let's do this. Okay, well, why don't you explain it?
All right, I thought you knew.
I can't remember all of them. I can't remember what I ate for lunch.
Okay, so it's all right. So I'm sure you may have seen the regulation gauges that show you your blow distance and your checking distance. So this is just a little expansion on that. It's made of stainless steel, and so this right here is 5/8 for your checking distance. So you just kind of figure out, if you're in the ballpark you want to be.
Yep.
I would use this more just to evaluate.
Totally.
I wouldn't use a lot of these measurements as I'm regulating. It's just more to see where you're at with some things. That's 10 millimeters.
That's your key dip.
So you can look at your key dip with this measurement right there. Sorry.
You have to put something black behind it.
Yeah. But yeah, you can get a quick idea.
Yep.
Of your.
That's your
key dip with that measurement. Let off. This is 1/8, so you can put this part underneath the strings and see if the hammer is if it's a little bit closer, which sometimes you want, or if it's too far. This will give you a quick way to check your let off. Your blow distance, you can put this underneath the strings, and this gives you 1 7/8 blow distance. Sorry. It's kind of hard to do that. We'll have some pictures on the website that make it more clear how to use it and everything like that. But then you have your sharp height.
Average
measurement.
sharp height. I
which
don't know how
is
many is
something
that.
that's new.
Yep.
You can set this down on. Sorry, I got the wrong. Okay. You set this part down, and this is 12 millimeters.
12
So
millimeters.
you can see if your sharp height is at 12 millimeters or if it's a little more or a little less.
There's another one.
Then you have your natural key top height to key bed, which I think you were saying 60 or 65 are both
and it
kind
does
of
both.
standard. So if you set this down on your key bed, if this little bar here, the top of that's going to be 65, and the bottom of that's 60. So that gives you a ballpark.
So that's 1, 2, 3.
Well,
I do count that as 2.
If you count that as 2,
that
then you
as
have
2.
8. But and then there's one more. Which is this notch here. That will it'll go well.
Yeah, sure. I can hold it for you there.
Okay. So this gauge is 1.5 millimeters thickness, and you just slip it there.
Yep. Press the key down.
Press the key down, and
you got too much aftertouch on this one.
You have too much aftertouch, but the idea is you want to see it drop just as you start to apply some pressure and start compressing that punching. And if you see a little bit of drop occur, then
it's really
you can say that you have your aftertouch set right. And some people will apply a little more pressure or a little less pressure, but basically Renner has a really nice gauge, which I've been using for the longest time. It's made out of like a plastic material, which does that function, and it's about the same thickness of that. And it just allows you to feel your aftertouch. And if let off happens too quickly,
it's
that
too much aftertouch.
Yeah, you have too much aftertouch, or
if it lets off too quick.
Yeah, so it just gives you an idea. And it's one of the last things I do when regulating is you get your sample notes all set, and then you go back through and make sure your aftertouch is right. Add or remove front punchings to get the right aftertouch.
So Mark made it not only because initially I thought it was going to be the ABS and stuff like that, but with testing and everything, it didn't quite work out. So he's like, let's do steel. And then I came here, and you're like had an actual like case for it. So it's pretty cool. I think you're going to be having these into production fairly soon.
Pretty soon, yeah.
And then they'll be on the website. And once we find out, he'll notify us, and then we'll go ahead and spread the word to all you so you can order yours.
Yeah, but I want to have a nice case. And the reason for having a case is, even though it's stainless steel, because we had to make it 1.5 millimeters thick for the aftertouch part of it, it's not the strongest thing in the world. You can bend this. And we don't want these bending. So we're going to make sure people know that, just take care when you're using it. Don't bend it. And by putting it in this case, which kind of locks it in place, you can put this in you can put it in your tool bag and not worry about it getting bent.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
The Artisan regulation gauge.
Yeah.
Dog. Famous.
Yeah, so we've got a bunch. I have to do a little cleanup and processing on the metal parts. They're deburring them. And
so Mark was like, "Hey David, are we good to go with these?" I'm like, "Yes, Mark. I've tested it back and forth. It does everything." And then Mark's like, "Yeah, I have to grind down something and redo something else because you didn't test. You didn't say this. You didn't say this." But I was like, I forgot one little thing, and we needed to kind of recalibrate.
No big deal.
No big deal.
I have to clean them up anyway because the edges are a little sharp, so I deburr them.
So we're kind of at the end of the time. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, video for that coming up.
Oh, I have one more thing I really want to show.
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Real quick. So some of you probably know Jim Coleman Jr. He had his own tool company for a while, and then he kind of retired. But he had this really nice voicing tool that I use all the time. I don't know if you've seen these before.
What?
The sugar coater. It's
so just so everybody sees, it's like got what?
It's got
like a dozen little baby needles inside this thing.
Yeah, it's got a bunch of little needles that are shallow.
Yeah.
And it's for actually voicing the tops of the hammers, not because they're so shallow, you can get away with that and not worry about wrecking your felt. And it takes a nasty sounding piano and
Are you selling these?
Yeah. So with 5 minutes with this tool, you can take a really nasally sounding, crappy sounding piano and just kind of, voice the parts of the tops of the hammers, including the strike point that you would normally never touch with longer needles, and go through, and piano sounds like 10 times better.
And the nice thing is on, a lighter playing, it just works really well. But when you really need to lay into it, because it's only on the top surface, you still have that integrity of the harder hammer below.
Yeah, and I've used this voicing tool for years, but it hasn't been, it's been out of production for a while. So we also make this polyurethane cap, so you can put it in your tool bag and not worry about stabbing yourself or breaking the needles.
It is out of stock right now.
It's out of stock
these
right
are
now.
these are $300, and you just go ahead and order them from artisanpianos.com, and we'll get you set up. How much are they normally?
I forgot what they are now.
If you had to guess,
I think they might be around 40-ish.
$40 is perfect.
I mean, give or take. I don't remember exactly.
And
what
the
price
cap.
Yeah,
So they're out of stock.
Well, here's the story.
You
Okay,
tease.
so I contacted Jim and I said, hey, do you want to make more of your sugar coater tools? And he's like, because I guess he was looking for stuff to do. He's kind of bored because he's retired, and so he's like, sure. And so he sent me 20 of them. I put them on the website. They were gone in 12 hours. All 20 of them.
Oh my goodness.
Because people really want this tool, and they haven't been able to get it. So I was like, the next morning, I'm like, they're gone already. Can you make more? So he's making more right now.
Okay.
And we're going to try to keep them in stock and just keep them going. So anyways,
that is a great tool. I'm so glad you said that, because I want one. Stacy, we need some of those for our guys too.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of other stuff. And I don't know if you want to quickly talk about the wire tires or just let that go.
I've already done the wire tire. We actually did a whole
thing
thing on the wire tires, and hopefully more people, if they haven't already, need to order those. Literally, I used to have the whole thing where you have the big old heavy wires and stuff like that. When I went to, I don't remember when you first showed this to me, but I was like, what is it? And you're like, oh, it's just this. You're like, oh, it's just this. And I'm like, game changer. Shut up and take my money. It was that.
So I don't know if you had wanted to take questions or anything.
Let's go ahead and open it up to questions. Sometimes people have questions, sometimes not. You've shown a lot of great tools. And
we have a lot of other stuff we didn't talk about, but our website's pretty easy to navigate. So if you want to see what else we have.
Any questions from anybody? Everybody's head is spinning.
Right.
It's kind of.
Do you have an idea when the single pitch pin loop maker will be available?
Soon.
Did we order more? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, we have some on order. So like how soon do you think?
It's on hand.
Within a week or two?
Hopefully in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, next 2 or 3 weeks.
Awesome.
Are people able to order stuff that's not in stock?
Yeah, but if they contact me, I'll put them on a waiting
Okay.
list.
Dawn says just contact her. She'll put you all on wait lists and things of that nature. I have already like 3 or 4 things that I'm like, okay, we definitely need to get that. Get onto those. I'm serious. Get onto those key clamps though, and those are worth getting.
Yeah, I just got to make more. So.
Yeah, those are.
You
better start ordering stuff now, because I'm going to start like telling Mark, I'm like, hey, yeah, I think that's worth that. That's worth that. And he'll be like, oh, I guess no.
I'm sorry, somebody had a question?
Go ahead.
Can you sell the felt for the tinner cleaning tool?
Well, okay, so yeah, I was going to mention that previously. The felt can wear out if you use these a lot, and they can be recovered. So we just use a thin wool felt and spray adhesive to,
Oh, you use spray adhesive stuff.
Yeah, I use I think 3M 27.
Okay.
Which seems to work well for attaching felt to steel.
Okay.
But yeah, you can take the old felt off. You just clean it up with, it takes a little effort to clean up, but yeah, you can just recover these with any kind of thin felt.
Okay. But you don't currently sell like replacement
If somebody wanted, some felt, replacement felt, we would just send it to him, you know.
Oh boy, you heard him say it.
I mean,
He said it.
it's not a big deal. I mean, you know, we buy the stuff by the yard.
Yeah, that's great. Perfect. So, so people go ahead and make sure that they check your website for things and availability. Definitely that voicing stuff. Everything you have here is just like what? And then Victor, you can go ahead and order your upright lid prop with magnetic screw holder.
It's a separate product.
Can you tell me this one really quick? You guys, I don't remember what this one is, but I think I do remember.
This is just a,
Yep.
We call it the coil former. I think I forget who made the metal one that's been around for forever. It's just a cylindrical one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a metal cylinder that does the same thing. You have this adjustment here. You drop your tuning pin. Your tuning pin goes in that hole, and then you use this adjustment to set the height of that pin so that your becket hole is just above the top of the tool.
Okay.
And the website shows you how to use it, but
So then you're holding it you have your tuning pin and you're just twisting it.
Yeah, and you hold the wire, you put the wire through the becket hole, and you kind of use your thumb to keep the wire in place.
This is
and
strong
then you
enough
just,
to do that.
And then you just, you crank it 3 times on your tuning pin, and then you either, if you're restringing, you just drive the pin into the lock, or if you're doing a field replacement, you would just transplant your coil onto the pin that's in the piano.
That's interesting that you made it an adjustable for that pin height. Was the other one adjustable too?
Yeah.
I don't remember being adjustable.
Oh, yeah.
Sweet.
The advantage of ours is just that it's lightweight
Yeah.
and that it doesn't roll.
It doesn't
ergonomical.
roll. It doesn't roll. It's not gonna
wander away from you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it's less likely to damage the plate finish if you're, if you drop it on the plate, because it's plastic. So
This is super helpful. I think you're probably everybody's best friend now, and they're going to want more of your tools because they're amazing tools, and they're handmade and machine made.
Well,
everything.
Yeah, I mean, we have a range. Some of the stuff we sell we don't make, and a lot of it we do.
Yeah.
And we're looking for more things that other people make, because I'm kind of at beyond capacity.
Sure.
We're struggling to keep up with keeping things in stock. So, we're always looking for new products that we don't have to make. That would be ideal.
Okay.
And we got some new stuff in the works. So we'll have some new things.
Some new toys
we're not talking about yet.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark and Dawn, for letting me crash your house and just be here and just look at your amazing tools. And hopefully, if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us or Stacy, and we'll put you in touch with Dawn. And you can always email Dawn and Mark personally.
Yeah, you can
from the Supply 88.
You can contact us through the website. Just keep in mind that you got to check your spam folder, because we always respond to our messages, but sometimes people don't get our response.
Oh, no. That happens sometimes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you on Wednesday, and thank you so much for chiming in, and get your orders in. Do we have any idea, just by the way,
Thank you.
Do we have any idea when these are going to come in stock?
When I talked to him a week ago, he said it would take about a week to make, so we could have them anytime, but I haven't asked him.
Perfect. I'm going to be combing the website for these. This is a great tool, and I've made stuff like this, but it's kind of janky. It's not like this. So get one of these, because that works really well. All right. See y'all on Wednesday.
Thank you, Mark and Dawn. Bye.